so let's see, the stream is about to get going. All right, friends, it's Peggy Hall back with you from thehealthyamerican.org. I am streaming live. Let me click that off. I'm streaming live here with a friend of mine, my own personal doctor and a healthy American, and a subscriber favorite. This is Dr. Rupachari, and she is a licensed medical doctor, but she practices functional medicine, more of a holistic approach. And she has helped me and my husband feel better over the years. So welcome back to the show, Dr. Chari.
Thank you, Peggy. It's great to be back, and Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year to everyone. And Dr. Chari and I thought it would be great to kick off the new year talking about some of the common mistakes that people make, possibly even you, even though you're my healthy Americans out there, you might be making some mistakes with your health, thinking that these habits or these new trends or fads are going to be doing you good, and perhaps they may be harming you. Dr. Chari is going to talk to us about that and offer some solutions. But I also need to say real quick, Dr. Chari, to everyone listening, this Saturday, Dr. Chari is going to be our honored guest in our private live webinar that we do every month for our financial supporters here at the Healthy American. She's been a guest before, and what's great is you, as a viewer, can type in your question and get your health questions answered live. There is no censorship. We are free to speak about everything we know that is going on. Of course, we need to be a little delicate here on this platform. But why don't we just dive right in? Dr. Chari, would you give our audience a brief overview of your background and how you're really not a part of that overall mainstream medical merry-go-round, as I call it? You help people get off the merry-go-round.
Absolutely. Thank you, Peggy. So yes, just as you were mentioning, I am a medical doctor and I practice integrative medicine or functional medicine, which basically is having a natural approach, getting to the root cause of what is causing those symptoms and medical conditions in the first place, and then addressing lifestyle, nutrition, targeted, customized supplements, and getting detailed lab work to see what may be off balance in a narrow range from here to here versus from the sun to the moon, so we can catch things early, reverse certain conditions. And my ultimate goal is to help people come down off their medication and prevent them from getting on medication in the first place by addressing the root causes with the natural approach.
You know, so many of my viewers tell me about themselves or family members that started out with a condition. They went to the doctor, they got on some kind of pharmaceuticals. It was not something that was going to be short term, such as pain medication for a broken leg, for example. And what happened is that triggered side effects, and then they got medication for those side effects. And before you know it, they were spiraling downhill, not to mention what can't be mentioned on this channel, the cocktail, as I call it, that so many people sadly fell for hook, line, and sinker and are now really experiencing, massive health problems. Some of my viewers actually have come on to the program later. They felt pressured or coerced, or they didn't really do the research and they just went along with what everyone else was doing. So friends, our goal is to help you get back on track so that you can make the most of your health, especially as we're heading into the new year. I know I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. I've done really restrictive dieting and fasting, which has its place, but I got to the point where I was like tearing my body down and not rebuilding it. And you've got such an interesting take on detox and healing the body. And that's one big mistake that I made. It started out good, and then I was really low on energy. I was losing muscle. I was not able to sleep. I had brain fog. And the antidote, I thought, was to restrict my food even more. In fact, I should have been eating more of nourishing food. So that's just a personal story. Let me know in a comment, everybody, health issues that you've been faced with or are struggling with. And then in the meantime, Dr. Chari, let us know what, your overview on this topic.
This is such an important topic, Peggy, especially at this time of year, because during the holidays, we all indulge Life is not about being quote unquote perfect. But what happens is when we overindulge, regardless of the types of food it is, and sugary sweets and all of these processed foods and alcohol and stress and everything kind of put together, then people start the new year thinking, okay, now I'm going to detox. But oftentimes then they do a very intense detox and can get more sick because really speaking, detox should be kind of a stepwise progression. There's certain steps which we'll talk about and share more in the webinar this Saturday of what we need to do to prepare the body. It's important to prepare the body, nourish the body before actually doing the detox. And then even while doing the detox, there's different steps that you would take. In fact, like what organ should we start with? And then the next organ and the next organ. So that when you do a cleanse, your body's already starting to process, release toxins, has been built up nutritionally so that people don't get these side effects. And the side effects can range from feeling more tired. And as you were saying, some people can lose muscle mass. They may have skin eruptions, headaches, sleepless nights, more joint pain. And they're probably thinking, wait a minute, I'm doing a detox. I'm supposed to feel better. Why am I feeling worse? And it's because it's overwhelming for the body to suddenly process so many toxins at once without preparing the body first and opening up those channels for elimination of those toxins. And then that can lead to those symptoms. So if it's done correctly, oh, it's so powerful.
Well, I love that, Dr. Chari, because you really buck the trend, and anybody can go on Instagram, and there are self-styled, detox experts that are not well versed as you are. And what I love is you've said before that you don't necessarily detox to get healthy. You have to get healthy in order for your body to efficiently detox. And as I understand it, we're detoxing all the time. Can you talk a little bit again about the organs of elimination? I'm fascinated by all of this. I think a lot of my viewers are as well. We are all about the natural approach to health. We don't want to, have to be at the mercy of these pharmaceutical companies. So yeah, how does the body function? How do we detox actually?
Definitely. So if we look at history, let's say over the past 5,000 years ago, even then, when the air, food, water, soil was so pristine, even then, every season, they would do a detox. So now, with the thousands upon thousands of chemicals we're exposed to in our air, food, water, soil, electromagnetic frequencies, different organisms, radiation, heavy metals, and the list seems to go on and on and on. We're exposed to an infinitely more number of toxins than our ancestors were. So we have to be very proactive in how we detox, and it's very important to detox. But at the same time, if people are under a lot of stress, eating a lot of processed foods, not getting enough sunshine and fresh air, and some of the and good nutrition, the very foundations of health, then if we go on to detox, then the body is then not prepared and in a state of overwhelm. And yes, just as you mentioned, our body is doing a detoxification every single day, but our organs nowadays are actually getting overwhelmed, especially our liver and our lymphatic system, which is like the vacuum cleaner for the body, are overburdened with toxins. So that's why we need to do it in a stepwise fashion in terms of rebuilding the body nutritionally and then starting with cleanses of the different organs in a stepwise fashion, which is very important.
And just to be clear, Dr. Char, you're not talking about necessarily going on a juice fast or a water fast or not eating, for 3 days, right? You're nourishing your body as you're going through these cleanses. Is that your approach?
Yes, exactly. That first, my approach is always to nourish the body, give the body the vitamins, the minerals, the nutrients it needs to strengthen it. Because I give this analogy. It's like, just say you've been working all day from 9 to 5, and then you're having a party at 6. When you come home, you're exhausted, and then you're trying to clean the house, and the house is a mess. You throw everything in a closet, close the door, and hope no one opens that closet that's full of junk. And then when people, come over, then they don't see the mess, but then slowly, bit by bit, you can, clean it out as afterwards. The same thing with the body. The body, it's not that the body can't detox. It knows exactly what to do. It has divine intelligence. And with that divine intelligence, it's saying we need more nutrients. We need more support. So in the meantime, I'm going to stick some of these different toxins and nooks and crannies and tissues to protect us. And then when the time is right, start the slow process of detox and doing it according to what is appropriate for that person. So that's why it's so important to rebuild the body first. And then, yes, and with nutrition and fasting is important. And I'll share a little bit more about that in a minute. But also, what organs need to be cleansed first? Like, let's say we start with the colon, and then there's another one and another organ after that, so that we are supporting your liver and your kidneys and your lymph system and cleansing toxins out. And there's so many, I know, different cleanses on the market. But it's very important that people don't jump into cleanses without first kind of taking a strategic approach. That's really important.
Well, I want to mention this right now. I was reading some of the comments as you were sharing that information, and I want everyone to know that Dr. Chari is so generously offering, and this is not a sponsored show. She's a good friend of mine, and I believe in what she's doing. And I want everyone to, it's called the Healthy American. I want everyone to have optimal health, living in health and freedom. And she has a free 15-minute free consultation, complimentary consultation. Let me share my screen real quick so everybody can jot this down. You don't have to be a financial partner with the Healthy American to participate. Go to charicenter.com. Here you see Dr. Chari. Her brother, Deepak, who I also know, also specializes in emotional healing, because Dr. Chari has spoken at length about the connection of the emotions, the body, how stress and isolation over the previous years, they were intentionally inflicted upon us to further weaken our Constitution, not only the Constitution of the United States, our own physical Constitution. So go here to charicenter.com. Now, she does specialize in women's health, but she has helped my husband as well lose weight, have more energy, clearer thinking. So, Dr. Chari, you do everything on an individual basis. It's not, you don't do group programs. It's all done case by case. So that's the other thing that I really like about your approach.
No, thank you, Peggy. Yes, because each and every one of us is unique and individual. There is no one set diet fits all. There is no one set supplement that fits everyone. You know, it really should be customized for each person's unique needs, their medical conditions, their sensitivities. And that's why I'm so passionate about, because I've seen the results when we customize it for each person.
And I have to share a little short story, a personal story, where my husband, Pastor David, and I were under a tremendous amount of stress in the midst of helping so many people stand up for their rights and not be coerced and intimidated by their employer or their medical provider to participate in these medical products that they didn't want. And I was in the middle of my lawsuit suing the county, and we were really run down. And Dr. Chari, we had been together on webinars in the past, and she said, I want to help you. It started with my husband, and he went through the protocols, and without even intending, he lost about 14 pounds that he didn't realize that he was carrying, and that helped him feel better. So there were some food sensitivities that he was aware of. He really was able to get more clarity, get rid of the brain fog, more energy, just overall more endurance to carry out the work that we were doing. And when I saw that, I signed up and, also did the deep work learning. And friends, it's not just about what do you eat, what time do you go to bed. This is like a mind body. We're talking about emotional events in our life. We can be carrying, well, you could be talking, you talk about that, Dr. Chari. There are things that happen to us that affect us throughout our life that we may not have resolved or dealt with. Kind of
Definitely.
the mind body emotional connection.
That is one of the most important connections, Peggy, and it's really not talked about enough, honestly. And because our level of stress, wherever it may be, and different people will have different situations occur in their life, but it's the event that happens and our interpretation of the event that happens and how we deal with that particular situation or situations. And so when we're carrying a lot of stress for a long period of time or even a short period of time, what can happen is it can weaken our immune system. It can affect our digestion. It can create more inflammation in our body. It creates a whole sequence of events that occur that can then deplete us further. And even now, they're linking autoimmune conditions, yes, to toxins in our environment, but equally as much as to unresolved emotional issues. And whether it's heart disease, cancer, that's also been linked to unresolved emotional issues. And that's why I work on the physical aspect with my patients. And that's why my brother does the work that he does from the emotional aspect with the advanced voice biofeedback technology, because when you address the physical and the emotional, ultimately, that's where we can see the greatest results because we're addressing issues and that can enhance our quality of life, which is the ultimate goal.
Friends, you can see just listening to Dr. Shari, she is a beacon of light and positivity. Her brother is the same. And literally speaking to them, it's almost like having a therapy session because you're being heard, your concerns are validated. You have someone who is actually on your side, like I'm kind of your legal coach and your how to navigate all the tyrants and all of that. And they are here for the actual practical, the physical, the mental, the emotional, and really helping you through all of it. I'm telling you, I've had so many people reach out to me with strained relationships where there were breaks in the family and they're still experiencing them, where their loved ones are looking at life through one lens and they're looking at it through a different one. They're concerned, or they've literally had losses where people have passed away from the health choices that they made. So there's so much grief and regret that why couldn't I have gotten through to them? And I tried to help them see things my way. So friends, we may be carrying these kind of wounds of the last several years without even, can you believe it? It's several years. We're going into 2025. And I know I have my rants and I flip my lid. You'll never see Dr. Chari flip her lid. She is going to help you in a positive, encouraging, step-by-step manner. Her beautiful mother, Mama Chari, may she rest in peace, provided the mother's love that still comes through you. And your brother, you're just embodying her knowledge, her wisdom. And can you talk just for a moment about your background and your mother and how this all came to be? I think this really is what sets you apart from the mainstream medical doctors, where people are frustrated, again, not being heard and not being seen as a whole person.
Yes, definitely, Peggy. So when we were growing up, my brother and I, and with our mother, who's always been a visionary, when we were growing up, she would give us natural remedies and would bring in healers from around the world who talked about natural ways of healing, detoxification, mind-body medicine. And so that was really ingrained in us when we were growing up. And she told me, when you go into medicine, you'll have this background, but then you can have the other, allopathic background as well, and be able to guide people to natural ways of healing and health and wellness. And so that's why I went into medicine, to be that bridge. And so what happened is when our father passed away when he was only 51 actually, he was 51. He had a massive heart attack and was under tremendous amount of stress with his job, his boss. And he went, the traditional route because, he felt that was what to do. And this still happened. And so then my mother, brother, and myself, my brother and I were teenagers at the time. We said, how did this happen? Why did this happen? How can we prevent this from happening to others? And so our dream was finally fulfilled in 1999 when we opened our center, the Chari Center of Health in San Diego. And we wanted to provide a family our patients are our family as well. We want everyone to feel loved, supported, and cared for and heard.
Well, that's so beautiful. And you really have fulfilled that mission and you continue to do so. And you left California. Do you mind talking a little bit about that? You're in Florida, but you're still licensed in both states.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes, definitely. So I'm still licensed and will always be licensed in California. and we're now in Florida, and I have a 100% virtual practice. So whether you're in Florida or California, I can see you, there's no issues, and we do it by Zoom, by phone, and you get the same results as if it was in person. So
And
we've
I'm
been
telling
virtual actually since end of 2021.
that is wonderful. And I'm telling you, friends, this is so detailed. And Dr. Shari had so many wonderful analogies in terms of explaining how the body works. And if you do opt to do blood work, if you're interested to see what's showing up there, she'll go through each and everything with a fine-tooth comb, how the body functions, what this does. Are there any areas? But also, for those who don't want to go that route, you've talked about helping them identify food allergies, sensitivities. Um, so there are all sorts of approaches depending on where you are. I mean, one thing I did, I got rid of corn in my diet, and of course, a lifelong Californian, Mexican food is like the national food in California, and so I would be eating corn tortilla chips and corn tortillas. It was a regular part of my diet, and I couldn't figure out why I was having all these ill effects until I got rid of the corn. And I just simply changed my outlook on it. And I realized that's why how they fatten up animals is feed them corn, and it's GMO. And even if it's not, it's just was very difficult for me. A simple change that I made. But I want to get back a little bit to some of the health mistakes. Let me share one more. Maybe it's on your list as well. And that is, I was, I think like many Americans, I was putting my work over my health. And in the early days of extreme urgency in really trying to survive, a lot of people were reaching out to me. How do I keep my job without undergoing these medical interventions? And I was working so much without taking a break. And I thought that that's what I should be doing. And I'll have time to rest later. And, this is the most important time to work. And it was about a year into this non-stop, literally, I stayed up until 2 or 3 regularly, got up again at, literally probably 6 or 7 in the morning, very few hours under constant pressure. And I realized I would not be able to continue to serve as I wanted to if I kept that up. And so I had to intentionally seek to improve my sleep, which I think some people think is laziness. So I made that mistake of shortchanging myself on my sleep, thinking I would catch up on it later. So do you see a lot of people are fall into that same trap, Dr. Chari?
Oh, definitely. We all do. We all do. And it's, on a daily basis, we just need to take it one step at a time and not be hard on ourselves because, in the dedication that you have, Peggy, for helping humanity, really, God bless you and Dr. and Pastor David for all the divine work that you're doing to help thousands of people in the US and around the world. And so what you did, what you just needed to do, and what we all need to do is just to remember that we need to make sure we're a priority. And that's difficult, especially when we're so giving to others. But what I tell women, and because it's very easy for us to keep saying yes to everyone, we need to say yes to ourselves. Say yes to ourselves. And remember, it's on a daily basis. Some days we may go to sleep earlier, other days it may not be. But the more we start getting in the habit of taking care of ourselves, making ourselves our number one priority, and sleep is critical. It's critical for our hormones. It helps us detoxify. It strengthens our immune system. It decreases inflammation and enhances our brain health and cognition. And the list goes on and on and on. And even for weight loss. And so if we sleep, and even if it's not may not be the easiest thing at first to fall asleep and stay asleep, but the more we just make ourselves a priority, it's very interesting what happens. And people may need to take certain supplements as well at first to help the body go into that restful state because we're all, stressed. We can be wired and tired at the same time, especially with all the events taking place. So main thing is say yes to yourself, make yourself your number one priority, and realize you do deserve to sleep and to make it not an all or nothing. And some days you may, and some days you may not get as much rest, but when we make ourselves a priority, we'll tend to take the steps to really revitalize our health.
That's a message that doesn't really get shared a lot in our society because we're always putting others first and helping others. But the fact is, we can't do that unless we, as you say, make ourselves a priority. Even if anybody's flown lately, they say, put on your oxygen mask first and then assist others. There are a couple of questions that popped up, Dr. Chari, if you don't mind. Now, what if someone is not in Florida or California? Can they still get information from you? Do you refer anyone, or how would that work? We've got someone in Nevada who's interested.
Yes, they can still absolutely still sign up for a consult, and I'll be happy to speak with them.
Oh, perfect. We've got a healthy American who wants to know. She said, what are 2 or 3 things that we can do to make changes if we are in poor condition health-wise and we don't have the finances to go to a specialist? Where do we begin? I love that question, Patricia. Where do we begin?
So my foundation is always nutrition. That's the building block. And now there's so many diets on the market, and I want everyone to remember no one particular diet fits all. And it could be even a diet for a season. But in general, balance is very important in terms of carbs and fats and protein. And of course, everyone has different dietary preferences. So in general, eat organic as much as possible, wash your produce. And, remember, it's not a perfect world. So it's not about being in fear when you're eating. That's the other thing. But in general, go to your farmers markets, support your local farmers. That's going to be more critical now than ever. And your local health food stores, which get produce from your local farmers. And that's the foundation. And second is hydration. Very few people are drinking enough water. I have to remind myself this on a daily basis. And, wonderful. And it's important that to continue, sipping on water throughout the day versus trying to get in several glasses at once. Otherwise, we tend to basically just urinate that out. And it helps with absorption of the water because our body's basically 70-75% water. We need that hydration and water to get nutrients into our cells and get toxins out. Third is sunshine, sunshine, sunshine. I know it can vary based on where you're living, but whenever possible, please make it a point to get outside in the sun. Don't fear the sun. We've been taught to fear the sun. You need the sunlight, not just for vitamin D. There's plenty of other healing energies that come from the sun that are so important. And even just back in the 1950s and 60s, there were health spas where all they did was sunbathe and they were healed of many different diseases. So get out in the sunshine and then movement. And this is not about a very vigorous exercise or, having to join a gym. You need fresh air. None of us is getting enough fresh air. We're all either in our homes or, offices all day or go to a gym. So we need that fresh air. That's critical. So just go for a simple walk. And this is what I tell myself included. Even if it means putting on my tennis shoes and walking for 5 minutes, 5 minutes is better than nothing. So movement is very important. And it doesn't have to be strenuous because that can sometimes actually backfire, especially if a person's already depleted.
That is so important. That really helped me so much, Dr. Chari. You said, just get up, get out of bed, go for a walk before you do anything, before you have breakfast, before you check your email. And I think a lot of people get up, they get on the phone or they get on the computer thinking, I'll do that later. Do it first. It actually feels better. You have a clearer mind. And let me share, I've got a reason for going on a walk. I don't know if I told you guys, look at here. Can you see? I don't know if you can see there. Oh, she's sleeping. There's our new little puppy. Well, she can't really see her too well, but she'll make an appearance. This is our Sandy, and she's been with us for a few weeks now, and we adopted her. She's just about a year old. So this is a reason for me to get out of bed. Many people know I was grieving quite deeply the passing of and I know you're an animal lover as well, and these precious family members, when they go, really leave a hole. So I really miss the whole routine of walking with the dog. And I'm so grateful. I am out several times a day. These are short walks. I'm not huffing and puffing. I'm enjoying myself. I don't have any earphones in. I'm not listening to anything other than the natural sounds. And it has been such a game changer. I look forward to getting up. And you know what? That I just realized actually that has regulated my sleep. I naturally now wake up at 7 o'clock, just like on the dot. And I go to bed earlier because I'm naturally tired. And I think the walking, I'm just thinking about that right now because I also take a walk right before bed. And so all of that together has become more of a natural rhythm. I just wanted to magnify what you were saying there about the walking. So there are a couple of things, Patricia, and everyone who's, if you're just hopping on, Dr. Chari, a good friend of mine, my personal doctor. I don't have any medical conditions, thank the good Lord above, but I have used Dr. Chari's protocols, her advice, her wisdom, her learnings to make sure that I am just doing what I can overall for my body and my health. And she will be our special guest in Saturday's webinar. We do this every month for our financial supporters. That's 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. If you didn't get an invitation, email support@thehealthyamerican.org. Dr. Chari's been on the show a couple of times in the private webinar, and she will answer your questions live. And we're going to be talking more about getting the new year off to a right start and avoiding these simple health mistakes that a lot of us make. And we're going to be wrapping up. But Dr. Chari, what else would you like to share with us?
Yes, well, I'd like to share with your listeners and viewers that I will be taking a deep dive into very practical steps that you can take to rejuvenate your health. And I will also answer all of your questions and will be able to speak very, very freely. So you are very free to ask me any questions you have, and I will be sharing with you things that I would not normally share as well.
So if you have questions, perhaps you fell prey to the pressure of participating in these medical products and you want to know about healing your body, what kinds of things you can do, how you can stay strong against any future assaults. Dr. Chari is very well aware that there are assaults in the air, in the water, in the food, the electromagnetic radiation. So she wants to help us stay strong against all of these kind of the environmental assaults that we don't have a lot of control over, but there are so many things that we can do. And she also talks about that non-physical piece, about our emotions, our outlook, our mind, and that can't be understated. So Dr. Chari, I can't wait for our webinar. It's always so great to have you. Friends, thank you for being on board. This was my first broadcast for 2025, and I could think of no one better than to have Dr. Chari as we kick off the new year. I am committed to making this my healthiest year ever. We don't know what is going to happen in the outer world, right? We don't know what they have in store for us yet, but we can't control that. What we can control is ourselves, our choices, our thoughts, our community, who we surround ourselves with. And as I say, Dr. Chari and her brother Deepak are two of the most positive, uplifting, encouraging people that I know, and they are going to help us feel supported and validated and affirmed as we sail into 2025. So thank you so much, Dr. Chari. I look forward to seeing you in a couple of days. Thank you, everybody, for being on board. You know where to find me. It's over at the Substack. It's a free newsletter. It's peggyhall.substack.com. I'll have a brief write-up and summary of what we talked about in the show today, along with a link for Dr. Chari, so you can get your free consultation, a 15-minute phone call where she will help you understand what's going on and then point you in the right direction. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. And I look forward to seeing you again. I'm here every day, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. And I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Take care.